All right, all right, all right. Welcome to Clozer Cult Podcast. I'm your host, Alma Merrill. And today, I got Justin Udy in the house.
That's right, baby.
We're going to talk about real estate. Now, above real estate, we're also going to talk about some investing. We're going to talk about lifestyle, all of that stuff. And honestly, man, nobody better than Mr. Udy himself, dude. How do you like that?
I just wish I looked as handsome as you. I'm admiring your beard.
Yeah.
You know, it looks so good.
That's getting good, dude. It's getting good.
See, I'm a novice. I'm a novice beard grower.
Look, dude, you like this too. Hold on. There we go. Huh?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
You got my yes. I forgot about that. Dude.
I got my Udy hat on, dude.
That's right, bro. You're awesome. I love that. You look so good in that.
Don't I?
You need to model
Yeah,
that.
not bad, huh?
Oh, you're awesome.
Yeah, damn, dude. Freaking sexy today.
Dude, sick.
So how you doing, man?
I'm fantastic. Life is fantastic. World's great. Right?
Yeah, things are going good. So you're not. How has the business been for you since you've like switched into this new market and everything?
It's funny. I get that question a lot, and I will say, and I almost feel a little guilty when I answer because it's a better market for me personally, and it's not because the market is good; it's because the competition is now less.
Right, that's true. Right?
Yeah.
Are you and what do you mean by that if you're, because you're used to what kind of competition in the last market time, place?
So I think you and I both saw the market change multiple different times, and there was an influx. It feels like probably that 2018, 2019 era.
Yes.
When there was just a rush of agents into the market.
Yes.
And so what I found is even with our prospecting, marketing, the things we're doing just as much, but our market share was going down. And so at first I thought, oh my goodness, we need to improve our skill sets. We're not converting, we're not presenting enough, and we're not closing.
Right.
And what I found was we were actually going on more appointments, and what we were losing to is essentially discount, lower price services, and also brand new agents where the family was like, well, my daughter got her license. My son-in-law got his license.
Yeah, I had that a lot. Actually, I just had a conversation with a guy the other day, and his daughter just got her license. And he's like, no, I'm just going to use my daughter. And I started talking to him. I talked him through it. And he's like, well, maybe I'll use you and my daughter, And I'm like, so we had this conversation about it. And I convinced him over the phone to work with me. And he calls his daughter up on three-way on the phone.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, okay, I guess you're not using me, Dad. Like, It was so funny, dude. It was so funny. And I'm like, dude, I think that's pretty awkward for her, And I told him, I'm like, well, I don't mind calling her and having a conversation with her,
Yeah.
And he's like, no, let me call her right now,
Oh man, a personality for sure.
Big time, dude. And I was just like, dude, that poor girl, like that must have felt like crap.
She did not go to Thanksgiving.
No, right? Yeah.
No, it's funny. Even my sister didn't use me.
Yeah.
And so that was like my second year in the business. I did amazing first year and second year. So I just expected it. And that was probably one of my first great lessons of you have to always be the best.
Right.
And if you are not the best and show that you are the lowest risk and the highest quality, whether they know you or not.
Wait. I thought you said lowest risk and highest quality, not cheapest. Come on. You don't have to be the cheapest.
That's right. And that's what people would, right? And
that's what they think, right?
That's right. And when the market was so hot and truly the marketing standard was sign the paperwork, stick the post in the yard, and pray that it'll go.
Right. The 3 Ps, right?
That's what people thought would happen. They didn't realize there's actually a marketing process of getting it ready, preparation, doing a true marketing concept.
Right.
To serve clients.
And putting it kind of on a platform, right, of marketing. Because I think a lot of times people are just like, oh, I'll just take some pictures with my iPhone, stick it up on the MLS. But what else is there out there to do? I know you do a ton of radio stuff, right?
Yep.
With K-Bear 101.
Yep.
What what have you found as far as marketing that has been the most effective for you in your business? Now, just for you guys who don't know, Justin Udy has been in this industry for what, almost 20, right? You're getting close?
Yeah, because I graduated college in 2001. I was a loan officer for 3 years, so I was flipping homes with my agent. I referred him like my 15th person. He said, get your license. So I got my license in 2005.
Okay.
So I think that's 21 years.
You're coming close. Yeah, that's crazy.
18 years in real estate license, 21 in total real estate experience.
Okay, that's pretty wild.
Yeah.
So that's why when I say like, hey, what else have you done? Because you have just a pantload of experience in this marketplace, right? So
Right. No, and I think, even you saying that, I'm actually really surprised. That's a long time.
That's a long freaking time, dude.
Maybe that's why this beard's so freaking gray, bro.
We were talking about it, and I'm like,
Gosh.
dude, I'm like, dude, just for men. Just,
And I'm
brush
like,
it in, like,
and I'm like, my 12-year-old's like, you look like an old man, Dad.
Yeah.
You know? So I'm like, now I'm like probably gonna dig into your just for men and add it on before I leave.
If I can see it on camera, it's too much. That's what I got it. I just got to get it.
Handsome.
Yeah.
Good work.
You. Yeah,
Good work.
thanks, yeah.
Yeah.
I have when you walk on an airline and the stewardess is like, nice beard. You know you're doing something good because she sees a ton of beards
Every day.
Every day.
Yeah, dude, you're a standout.
I was a standout.
That's nice.
At least on that flight.
That's what you got to do.
Yeah. So tell me, what other marketing processes do you use? I mean, besides radio, besides obviously the MLS, what else do you do? And then after we talk about that, I want to get into where you came from, how, that type of thing.
I love that you asked that question because honestly, most agents will even agents will come in and be like, but what do you really do?
Right.
Because they don't even think about what the options are. And so I'm hoping, and this is me, I love these conversations. So I loved when you called me because truly, I feel like our industry is one of the best industries.
Yeah.
But it's probably the most undereducated.
For sure.
And the reason why is because I hate to say it, I call it deal cocaine. It's like somebody does a deal and they're like, whoa, let's do it again.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And they don't spend the time to be like, how do I make this my craft?
Right.
You know, how do I be the best?
How do
in the
I
industry?
formulate this to have a
Yes.
predictable, consistent outcome?
Where
right?
people are like, I got to do this transaction, multifamily, land, house, commercial. And they're like, you don't need to go anywhere else. Go right here. They are going to take care of you 100%. Like that's in my mindset. Having that mentality is what I've always had.
Right.
And so my degree's in marketing, so I loved marketing.
Yeah. And you just graduated from, did you get that degree recently?
So I got an undergraduate marketing degree. Loved it. I thought I was going to go work for the X Games, bro. See, it was magical. I'm telling you.
Magic, dude.
I was working for American Express. We'll go into this, but at the end of the day, I enjoy marketing. I loved it. Did marketing, but I went back and got a master's in real estate development.
Okay, that's what you did.
Yeah.
And congrats on that, dude.
Thank you.
Because I know that was kind of like
A bear.
a mother of a bear, right?
I will say this, unless somebody is absolutely dedicated to education, growing themselves, that was more than I had anticipated. I learned more than I anticipated, and I've utilized that, and it's come back. You know, I've doubled essentially my investments right into it.
Right.
So it's beautiful. But as far as from a marketing perspective, what I will say is the number one thing that people need to understand the dynamics of what the project is.
Right.
Oftentimes they're not evaluating it correctly and they're not truly showing it what it is. So for example, looked at a property literally on my way here. The zoning is completely incorrect the way that the agent is presenting it. Therefore, the uses, the types of buyers, the people that are going to come have now been eliminated.
Well, most agents don't even know very much about zoning. Right?
Truly.
I mean,
it's because they haven't educated themselves.
Right. Yeah, they just haven't taken the time. And
Yeah.
I'll be candid with you. I just did a commercial property down in downtown Salt Lake City. And I was like, what the hell, dude? What is this zoning? Because I've done so much residential. I do like maybe one commercial a year, you know? And I'm like, what the heck is this? I had to dive deep and just educate myself before I put it up and zone, put it
And
zoning
the
on it.
beautiful thing is you keyword, educated yourself. So
Right.
you have to educate yourself about that property through and through. Oftentimes people are like, throw it up and then let's figure it out.
Right.
That's,
Yep.
I think, the first problem.
That's a lot of time burnt if
Yeah.
you do it that way.
2 is you're making notes of everything that really is going to showcase that property. You talk about walking in and somebody recognizing you walking into an airplane.
Right.
You were a showcase because you essentially presented yourself in a way that was different than everybody else.
Right.
And so you can do that in different ways. Are you going to physically have to, I have a property that I'm putting personally $11,000 into the property to renovate it. I pull back a note, I'm safe, they're gonna pay me back at closing, but that's what needed to be done to showcase that property. There's properties that I'm physically staging. There's property that I'm just making sure the stagers my stagers go out to every single property now to help the client prepare the property of what to do to make it look amazing. I have a photography checklist for them to follow. I have a fix-up list for them to follow. And then I have special instructions for my personal marketing guy. The only reason I have a marketing guy is because I got so tired of most brokerages don't even have a full-time marketing guy,
It's true, yeah.
But I was just like, it was so important to me and such a value add to me personally that I'm like, if we're going to give the absolute best service, then great. Let's have a full-time person. Right? That's what
And what does that
pro does.
What does that look like for you to go get like a full-time marketing person? Because a lot of people are like, no, that's just too expensive or it's too difficult. Or has it been a strong value for you?
For me, it's a personal strong value because I can, for example, say, hey, Trace is my marketing guy. He's been with me for 5 years. I'll make all of the notes. So for example, we have a listing on the market that's 1.7 million. I was at the property last night and I realized oh my gosh, there was this door they were
Was
working
that
on.
the modern one you just put up like a week ago or something? Or 2 weeks ago?
We sold that one.
Okay.
This is a different one. Yeah,
Okay.
we sold that one for 1.5. It was
that
really
thing
amazing.
was sick.
Oh,
Yeah,
dude,
that was beautiful.
It was beautiful.
Can you believe you can buy something like that in Utah for 1.5?
No. Seriously.
It's wild, dude.
I know.
Even still, people are complaining that our prices are high, but you can't get anything near that in California for this price.
And it was so beautiful. It really was. But now it's like, okay, let's make sure we're getting the physical photos of the property, which is normal.
Right.
Like you said, you're not using an iPhone. I always tell my clients, if your agent comes with an iPhone, that's when you say, I need you to turn around and go out the door.
Right.
Because I had an agent that called me this week and said, hey, you listed and sold a property. My client, some things have changed. I'm just checking if you can would mind if I use all of your photos, all of your aerials, all of your things. And I said, you know what, honestly, I'm fine with you using them. It is going to be a small charge just because of the cost that I spent to charge them.
Of course. Yeah.
And her response was, you know what, it actually really makes sense. However, they took some photos with their phone that I think are going to be okay that I'm going to use.
Oh, it's going to be okay. It'll be
This is the
okay.
thing. It's a veteran agent.
Right.
It's not their first deal, but this is common practice.
Yeah.
And you have to be uncommon in this business because it takes money to showcase a property. It takes money to make sure it's presented correctly. So,
Right. I love that you say showcase a property because maybe that's where I got it. I started saying that instead of marketing a property, I showcase properties. I say that in my listing presentations.
Yep.
And maybe I got it from you at one of your events or meetings or something. But I love that word because it stands out and it identifies, look, we're not just putting it on the market, we're showcasing it. When people see it, everything's perfect. When people walk through it, everything's perfect. When it's online, everyone and their dog sees it and hears it and feels it and understands exactly what it is.
And as you start doing this, what you'll find is you need to make sure you're documenting your successes. Here was the before. Here's what it was after. Here's what we were going to list it for. This is what it is now.
Right.
We have a property, the one that was the 10,000 we're putting into. That's not a big home. It was going to be listed at 350, bro. But now with the 11,000 investment, it's going to be closer to 400.
Wow.
So the difference is like these small details. Again, most people won't evaluate, and it's a lot of work and a lot of effort. And some people are like, I don't have the ability to, and you don't have to.
Right.
You don't have to put 11,000 into the property. But what you have to have is the resources and information and knowledge to provide to that person so that you are low risk and high value.
That makes a lot of sense.
And then they are like, man, one year I think you and I talked about that, on a commission structure, because we offer different programs and so forth.
Right.
I mean, I took 7% listing agreements. I did 92 that year.
That is wild, dude. I think my record is like maybe 4 in a year
Yeah.
for a 7% agreement.
And it was because, again, making sure every single property, the stager's going in, you're doing added value. The photos, obviously, you're doing your photos and so forth, but you're doing aerials. We do video on everything. So those things that we can stand out front, we can put them on social media, do paid social media campaigns that you're
Right.
paying for. You're making sure that if it does need to go into any type of marketing in a community specifically, that you're doing the postcards that go
Right.
out to the community. So when an agent says, well, geez, my brother-in-law will do it for $2,500.
You're right.
I'm
Exactly.
like, dude, I'll be honest with you. For $2,500, I'm not even on the market yet.
Yeah. Yeah. I
sorry.
haven't even posted your listing yet for
Yeah.
$2,500.
And so when people start seeing that and evaluating it, they start seeing you, you're, again, just like the word you say, we're showcasing it, we're differentiating it, we're going to make sure we're attracting versus chasing.
So what if, but hasn't the market just been selling like hotcakes over the last couple of years? Are you excited that that's changed?
I heard people say, I'm so excited for this to happen. And I just said, listen, be careful what you ask for.
Right.
Because when we went through it,
I hear that all the time.
effing painful, bro.
It's very hard work.
They don't think about the repercussions and the problems and the issues, because even team leaders I'd hear say that. And I was like, so you want to change that's going to affect your business, and you may have to lay off employees and affect their lives.
Right.
And it's like, why wouldn't you just want growth, you know? And so we have seen change. It is what it is. But I do believe that when you're in a business, that if you are consistently focusing on growth, I really do believe that repeat and referral business is something that people need to focus on, but they focus on it too much. 80% of your efforts needs to be on new growth and new business.
Okay, listen to that, ladies and
20%
gentlemen.
on retention.
Okay, because I hear that all the time where people are like, oh no, your SOI can live off of my SOI. Well, you don't want it. If you're not growing, you're dying, right? So you still need to create new business. Fair statement?
Absolutely. And and I think the point that you said is if you are not creating new business, you're never going to create new opportunities, new relationships, new visions, and your other people. Because I will hear agents say, like, I am 100% on past clients, like you said.
And there's a lot of people like that.
And I think that's amazing. You should focus on past clients. That is a part of your business, but it should only be 20%. You don't need, because if I'm focusing on all my past clients, I mean, think about your people. I think in my database, we have thousands that I could go and follow up and do that all day, every day. But it's like, why would I do that when I can also spend 20% of my efforts, time, energy on that, and then create new business, because those people are going to come back anyway.
Because new business is new growth too, right?
Yeah. And I just believe that you do need to create new opportunities. And yeah, market may change and things may change where it's like, hey, let's do this 50-50. Maybe the intimate relationships now need to grow stronger because it's getting a little bit watered down, because you're not having that close touch.
Right.
I just believe that a business, any sales business, has to be getting new prospects all the time.
Right. And so what is your primary focus in your business? What's your primary focus on getting new prospects? Mine is for sell by owners. Mm-hmm. It's my gig for sell by owners expireds. What is yours?
Honestly, our number one prospect is business owners that want the help.
Interesting.
These are people that are high profile, have good properties, have good businesses. They want everything from taken to A to Z. They need somebody that can be like, I want you to take everything.
And what's your process to find them?
Oftentimes what we're doing is obviously we have a prospecting schedule every single day. Mm-hmm. So for example, on the $1.5 million listing, it's like the moment that's going up, we have an open house campaign. So we're attracting type people looking for that
same neighborhood
type property.
Right.
We're doing a 200 homes around it that we're cold calling and saying, hey, what is doing kind of just a listed and then a just sold. So you have a like type people in a like type neighborhood that are doing similar type things.
And here in Utah, those neighborhoods change from like street to street, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Like you don't have just like a Beverly Hills of Utah.
Yeah.
Some people call Draper Beverly Hills of Utah because there's a lot of consistency in house types, but there's also a ton of smaller homes, ton of apartments, all kinds of stuff through there. Whereas, and in Utah, it's like sometimes you'll have this, $4 million homes, and across the street, $300,000 homes.
Yeah,
It's a hodgepodge.
I would just say this, and we're not. I don't want to sound like we're fancy. I mean, we have a $90,000
Bro, you got hats and
property. Yeah. I'm like, these are the ones that like Vistaprint sends you. You
Yeah,
know,
right. These are
all the
ones-
pens.
yeah.
You order one thing, dude, you'll get everything. They're the best follow-up
You
system
took a
ever, bro.
Sharpie.
Yeah.
You took a Sharpie and marked out Vistaprint.
Oh,
you
yeah.
just can't see it. It's right
That's
here.
right. I was gonna say, but from those big companies, you learn follow up.
Oh, yeah.
You know, when you start making a contact, I mean, they send stuff all the time to
Oh,
you.
yeah.
So I would always just say, like, even with follow up with folks, I mean, you make a great contact and they're not ready, like, put them on your newsletter list. That's a personal newsletter that somebody didn't create for you, because it sounds just almost so inauthentic.
Right.
And I just think that that balance of leverage and personal touch is just really going to be however somebody wants to grow their business.
And let me ask you this, because I mean, you're so hyper analytical. That's why I love having these conversations with you, is you analyze everything. What is your take on this Chat GDP, the AI systems that are really seem to be pretty damn good? What's your take on those? And is it going to take the place of that personal touch?
You know, I love them. I think they're fantastic. In fact, I will tell you, I used to spend as much as an hour on just a property description.
Uh-huh.
And again, write every single one of them. Still,
Interesting.
because I believe a true marketer knows how to write copy.
Right.
You know,
Yes.
copywriting is a big business. That's why I believe you should be reading and educating yourself. I think if anybody's a professional sales professional in this business, they need to understand marketing at a high level.
Yeah. That
And they
makes
don't need a
sense.
degree. They just can go to 3 to 5. Literally, I almost think this, I think about education. Anything you want to learn, you can learn by reading 3 to 5 books, attending 2 or 3
Conferences a year or whatever.
and go to a mastermind, and you will probably get more out of that than a full year or 2 in a educated system of knowledge.
And how do I get into a mastermind if I'm like new, right? Because I've seen a few masterminds pop up. And I remember when I was a younger agent, I was like, dude, how do I get into these? Just ask, right?
You just ask, because most people won't ask.
Right.
I think this business is just showing up.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we've just learned over time, it's so easy to excel in this business, in life, by simply doing 2 or 3 extra little things. Getting up just a little bit earlier, staying just a little bit longer, giving just a little bit more service, being just a little bit nicer. So you improve it by, you pick 10 things that you're just going to do just 10% different. And it's 100% different experience.
And I always I always tell people, like, if you go to a conference and you really like the speaker, if you can gain access to that speaker, go talk to that speaker, right?
Totally. No,
Just pick their brain for a minute.
No, I remember those speakers. I mean, the reason they're there. I mean, even like here, people come to places because they feel like, hey, if there's something that I tell my little girl, I always tell her, I make her read a book to cap her cell phone.
Right.
So she has to read every single night and write a report every month. And she's like, this is so stupid. I have to read this stupid book. And I said, all I ask you is get one thing out of it. And if you can get one thing out of it, and then you have been a success. And I think that in our business, like if we could get $1 million idea out of one book,
Right.
you've been a success. If you out of your relationship book, out of whatever, if I can get one thing out of that, think about the conferences.
Yeah.
It's like I wrote down 3 things and that's it. But that's all I needed.
I always tell myself I'll go to at least 4 major conferences a year.
That's good.
Like a Tony Robbins or like a Grant Cardone or something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah,
And then
love
I'll do every single social event local that I can that has to do with real estate, so I can rub shoulders with everyone. Or at least that's my goal
I
this
think it's
year.
brilliant.
Last year it was just simply attending 4 of those major conferences a year.
Well, and I think you get access to people, you get access to knowledge, and honestly, the whole name of the game in this industry, any industry, changing market, it's a freaking mindset.
Yeah.
I mean, 95% of emotion is based on our mindset, right?
You and I have had long conversations about mindset. What is your favorite thing to protect your mindset?
You know, I love this. And I heard this not long ago, probably 3 or 4 months ago, and I've adopted it because I think it's really good thinking. My little girl has been like, and this just goes to standards, right? My little girl's like, I hate going to church and I don't want to go. And I'm like, great. Where do you want to go?
Right.
Let's go. I was like, all I expect you to do is we need to be around other people with high standards. That's what I want for you in life.
Right.
I don't care where we go.
Right.
Let's just go somewhere.
Right.
And so she said, hey, well, I want to go to the Capitol Church. I said, awesome. So we went
Wow,
to the Capitol.
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was awesome. And the preacher said, and he had put this on the board, and I thought it was just amazing because it was like amazing in life and amazing in our business is, and just as a backdrop, I mean, these guys are fantastic speakers and really methodical about how he spoke about it. And it was spiritual also. I mean, it was fantastic. But he said, stop listening to yourself and start talking to yourself.
Oh, wow.
And I have repeated that over and over and over. And with all the affirmations that, you do every day and all those things, they're so important to go to the conferences, meet the people, to be around people that have a mindset that is positive.
Right.
Because it's like you need to stop listening to yourself and you have to start talking to yourself.
Wow, dude, that's pretty deep because everybody's always like, oh, listen to your intuition, listen to your whatever. But your intuition's already there playing a role because of your character, right? So when you say talk to yourself, what are you saying to yourself?
I think it depends on where you're at, but it's like, I would say like, depending on the season of your business or even your life, it's like, no, I am the best. Like I am a provider. I protect my family. I forgive. I forget. I'm not who I was yesterday. I'm growing to give growth to other people. I'm here to serve.
Right.
I'm here for a purpose. I'm here to, provide for my families and provide for the families of my team. I'm here to provide wealth, a wealth of knowledge, wealth of education, and also a wealth of income, not only to me, but to other. I mean, I'm going through,
I'm
going through affirmations now, right?
Right.
And those are the things because I think that's the hardest thing. Like the youngest people have the best opportunity, but they have also the most noise. And so you have to focus.
They're the most distracted, right? Yeah.
The number one, and I think we should all have different people in our lives like that. I mean, my coach that one of the most valuable things he's told me is he says, I would always complain about, I'm trying to figure out how to get time for that. Or I'm being distracted, and so I just didn't have the time for it. And he says, I want you to stop telling me time. He's like, everything in life is not time, it's attention.
Oh, yeah.
He's like, where is your attention? And take that and run with it. And it's really changed how I do things.
Dude, I love that. So I'm trying to break back into, I was in this place about 1.5 years ago, and it was right after you and I went to that meeting with Luke Wren. Do you remember that?
Yes.
In that round table or that mastermind that we did that night?
Really emotional, right?
Yeah, it was highly emotional. Everybody was like super, super like intentional about everything they said. He was just dragging stuff out of them, And I can remember that following year was the best year I've ever had. That was about, we're almost 2 years since then, I think. I think.
That's amazing.
1.5 years, 2 years ago.
It seems like yesterday, but yeah.
It does.
I know.
That's wild. And I remember that next year I was so dialed, but there was one thing that I did differently was that I paid attention to everything. I paid attention to when my daughters said something, when my wife said something. I paid attention to my business and how it was operating. I paid my attention to everything. Instead of allowing everything to go autopilot, I paid attention to it. I didn't always manage everything. Some people did that, but I paid attention to everything. So I knew what was going on. It was my best year ever. I increased my net worth dramatically by like 5 times.
Amazing.
And I just, I feel like the thing is I didn't have any balance, but I had incredible rhythm.
Oh, nice.
No balance, incredible rhythm.
Yeah.
And it felt fantastic. And I think it goes back to what you were saying is that I was paying attention to things.
It's amazing when you begin becoming more curious and hanging on people's words as opposed to thinking, what do I need to say next?
Right.
Right. And how much like more information they're willing to pour into you because you genuinely are curious. that's one of the kind of key words that I talk to, like whenever I'm even talking to my team it's just like, hey, like, how are you? Just be curious, put everything down, sit back and be curious, because somebody will say one word, because words mean things, and you'll say, when you say that, like, how do you mean?
Right.
You know? And all of a sudden it's just like all these things come out.
Now you've been talking about that. You've been in the industry a long time. You've done a ton of business. You have fulfilled a ton of your desires in the real estate team. You've built your dream house. There's some really cool stuff I've watched you do over the years. Where did you come from? Was this all handed to you, or did you have to go grow this?
Yeah, I grew up in West Jordan.
Okay.
Super middle class family, amazing family, high integrity. Really, like, my dad is like, I'm trying to remember Norm from Cheers. Right? Okay. Everybody's like, dude, he's just, come on over. He has people that'll knock on his door. And in fact, my mom was telling me this story, which I was laughing so hard at, but somebody was selling magazines door to door. And so he was sitting there talking to him. And after about a half hour of talking to him, she comes home and they're inside the kitchen drinking tequila. I'm like, Dad.
Your dad and these people are drinking tequila? Yeah. Okay. Wait, is your dad a Mormon guy?
So these are my memories. I remember sitting in the garage and my dad smoking a cigarette. And I remember, a member of the church driving by and wave at him and him giving him the finger. Now, the reason why is because I couldn't play with the neighbor kids.
Okay.
Because they didn't go to church.
Oh, okay. Yep. Right.
Now, I will say I love the church. I go to church. I served a mission. And I think there was just those moments when I told my mom, I remember I was going to go on a mission. She actually started going with me. I mean, my family's a beautiful family of high integrity. And I think that was one of the biggest challenges that I always ran into is in our Utah culture, there was a stigma of if you do not go to church, you're not a good person.
Right.
And
that's pretty common. That's a very common stigma.
And it's hard. I remember even a companion of mine at the time, somebody was smoking and drinking, and he's like, well, we can't talk to them. He's like, they're smoking and drinking. And I'm like, so what?
What the heck? Yeah, that is wild.
Some of the best people we know, or I know, I would say, right, are people that aren't of our faith, that have a high love for spirituality, whether they believe in God or not, but they're spiritual. Their standards are high. They're here to do good and bless lives, and they want to do good.
They believe in principles like integrity and trust and contribution and love.
Yes, yes. They're caring people. They give you the shirt off their back. And there's a beautiful book. I think it's Daniel Elpin. Anyway, he's a Jewish.
Yeah, because by that logic, we could like start hating people that are above a certain weight, right? Because they're of what they're intaking into their body.
Yeah,
right?
totally. I think that was the beauty of the thing, at least that I feel like I was super blessed with, is like people, all of us have decisions, and it's like our job is just to love them.
Right.
And it's like people are going to do what they're going to do. Like anybody we know, you can don't put faith in the people. Just love them.
Right.
Because if you put faith in them, then they maybe just are going to feel like they let you down when they do something.
Right.
Totally. Sometimes I feel like we all know somebody and we're like, I loved them, but then they something.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
We've all had these icons, and then they find out that
something
happened.
I remember watching this, like, I can't remember what show it was. It was like Charles in Charge or like something back then.
Classic, of course.
One of the classic like TV family shows. And I remember this kid, he goes to this concert, and at this concert, he's watching this rocker and he loves this guy, right? And after the concert, he goes backstage and he had tickets to another one of his concerts. He was like following him around on tour, And after the concert, he goes backstage and he sees this guy making out with this other lady who's not who's not his wife, you know? And they're like, oh my gosh, right? And he was like, oh my gosh, no. And he's like starts crying and runs out, and the guy's like, get out of here, kid, you know, like
That's so funny.
and the dad, it was Tony Danza, dude. It was the dad, or maybe he was the uncle or something. I can't remember. And he goes, hey, buddy, just because you don't like the guy and what he does doesn't mean you can't enjoy his music. And he said, everybody lives differently and has different ways of expressing themselves and being in their life. And you can't judge people based on what they do. And you don't want to hate them because they choose a different path than you. And so it was like this lesson, like, oh, okay, I can still appreciate other people's path and the way they live, and I can still enjoy the things that they do.
Yes.
That are positive or uplifting or whatever.
I love that. You know, enjoy their music.
Right.
Love the person, not what they do.
Right. Yeah.
You know, and I think that was something that was just been really amazing for me to learn, of just love everybody for who they are. They're all going to make these decisions. You're like, dude, that was so dumb.
Right.
I would never do that. I'd never take that for my health. I would never do that.
Right.
You know? And so what I'd actually done is I had a neighbor that would go to church. And so I was probably, I don't know, 7, 8 years old, maybe a little older. But I just started going with them. And then when I turned 16, I drive myself.
Right.
But I grew up here, middle class. I remember when I was in middle school, I went to a friend's house, and he was super, they were, I mean, one of the most wealthy people essentially in South Jordan. Mm-hmm. And I went to their house, and I just remember looking around saying, this is like, it was unreal for me, because I'd never seen anything like it. I hadn't seen the big house, the cars, the garages, the acreage, the land, the tennis courts, the pools, all the things that we essentially see.
I remember
as
the
luxury.
first time I went to a house like that. Yeah. With my dad. Yeah.
Right. It's crazy, because then all of a sudden I was like, whoa, there's like another world that's out there that is available.
Right.
And so, but I always wanted to work. I felt my mom worked late. She worked till about 7 o'clock every night. I remember always feeling guilty, like asking for anything, because she just was working so hard. My dad's a great saver. I mean, he was the guy that was like, hey, come in the truck. He's like, we're driving to wherever. He's like, because gas is 2 cents cheaper over there. Right.
right.
Great saver, you know?
I did the math for my dad once. I'm like,
but it took you 3 hours.
you're
Just
spending more money than you're saving by going there. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, my dad is like handy man. I mean, he can do anything. I mean, he's over 80, and we were laying concrete 9 months ago,
dude,
in the summertime.
Bonkers. Yeah.
I mean, I have a great picture of my boy and me and my dad, and I go to their house, and they still live at the same house in West Jordan, and he's laying block.
Wow.
And I'm just like, you're an animal.
Dude, that's the way my dad is too, because he grew up in construction, and he's like, there's no such thing as retirement for me. Like, I'm like, Dad, you're going to die like hammering nails. And he's like, well, at least I'll die happy doing what I love. I was like,
seriously,
wow.
It's crazy. I mean, but it's funny. People meet him and they're like, gosh, we thought he looked so much younger. And I will say it's 2 things. 1, he stayed active. 2, dude, he just doesn't stress, bro.
Yeah.
He is so happy. I mean, he laughs at every joke, makes every joke. He's just a delight to be around. But grew up there, and so, like I said, just super middle class. But I just always had this thing in my head, like I felt guilty asking for things. And so I remember my mom, when I turned 16, she's like, hey, we went and got my license. She's like, where do you want to go now? And I said, I want to go get a job. So she drove me, and we went to the spaghetti factory, and I got an application and filled out an application, and I became a dishwasher.
Wow.
And I was doing other jobs.
Which
before
spaghetti
that.
factory was it?
The Mid Valley.
Okay.
And so I was doing other jobs always before that, everything from the lawn mowing and the shoveling snow.
Right.
And, you do those things to make money. But I was like, I want something consistent that isn't seasonal. And anyway, I've just always had that in my mind. I was always a saver. I mean, I remember my friend coming over, and I had something on there, and he's like, "You've got $5,000 in the bank?" And I was like 16, I'm like,
You're
"Well,
all,
yeah,
wait, is that a lot?
yeah, exactly right." And so, but I mean, I have a great family. I have two sisters that are older than me, and one lives in Draper, and they have a second home in Lake Havasu. And then another sister that lives in San Diego.
Hey, if you want a house by Lake Havasu, I'm putting some stuff together down there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Nice, dude.
Yeah. I'll have to chat with you about it.
Cool.
But so tell me, you were saying something about a book. You mentioned a book and I cut you off that you were.
No, I was just saying it was interesting. We were talking about kind of some religion. I just about religion and faith and but anyway, this book is the I'm saying Jewish pastor. It's not a Jewish pastor. It is a
Yes.
Oh my heavens. Yes. They're ecclesiastical leader. I am feeling that every Jew, for my Jewish friends, I'm so sorry. This is embarrassing. Anyway,
it's all right.
But he talks about how they have a cup, and in that cup, the very bottom is very open and wide, and then the top of that is smaller. And he talks about in the book how they, just the belief is that everything that you have in life that should overflow. Your faith should overflow so you can bless others. Your income should overflow so you can bless others. Your happiness should overflow so it can bless others. And I just thought that was so amazing. Because I'm like, man, if you can just do these things that are just a little bit more than just containing it and self-containing, and let it just overflow, how much of an opportunity can it bless others?
Right.
And so I just love those mindsets. I love some of the those teachings from Buddha or just like those books. And so I tend to like to read that stuff. But that's just because it gives me a good perspective. It gives everything's mindset, right?
Yep.
Everything's mindset.
And favorite book. What's your favorite book that you're
All
reading?
time?
All-time favorite book.
My
but then what are your favorite book or books that you're reading right now?
I'm reading Ed Milet's book right now. One more. I mean, that's a fantastic book.
Yeah, I just downloaded that one, so I'm gonna hit that one up pretty quick.
I'm trying to think book that is favorite book.
Just kind of changed your perspective on everything and really helped your business.
I mean, one that changed my business. Think and Grow Rich is obviously a classic one where it's a mindset, makes you think about your time frame and your schedule. I think that's a really fundamental book. It is a little hard to read though. That's the only thing.
It's old school, but it's there's so much in it though if you can dissect it.
Yeah. It's super classy. I mean, I'll stick with the I will stick with the one that changed my business. There's a mini one that was called Turning Pro, and that just talked about hey, focus on your business. But I don't think that wasn't the changing one.
For me, it was Raving Fans. For me, that thing hit me so hard, that book. And it was really kind of probably one of the first actual books I read cover to cover on business,
Yeah.
And it just changed the way that I affiliate with my clients.
Yeah.
And I've read it multiple times. And I think that for me, it was Raving Fans. And then those are the same times I was reading As a Man Thinketh and Think and Grow Rich and all of those. But
I think in different seasons, right? I remember when I was hey, I need to do things different. There was a book called Delivering Happiness by Tony Hsieh.
Okay.
And it was from the Zappos business, which is so customer service focused. And that was a really great kind of just pivot in my mind of how do we provide a world-class experience at all times?
You've used that term a ton.
Yes.
I love that you say that, providing a world-class experience, because that means a lot to you when you say it. I think the first time I heard you actually say it, it was at one of your events. And I have always adopted that as part of my business now, that we give everybody a world-class service.
I love that. There's a gentleman out of Texas, and he calls, and I loved how he has it, and he has on his wall first class, which is very similar meanings.
Same concept. Yeah.
But I think about, what do you experience when you fly first class? What is the difference? How do they make you feel? Is it, quality versus, low quality? How do you set a standard where people are that is amazing.
Yeah.
And I think if you're running your business like that, I think you have a better business, you have better people, you know, they tend to come back, they want to come back. And truth be told is like, it's a repeatable business because the people that you attract, whether people that work with you or the people that you're working with, they do have an expectation, but they don't worry so much because it's so much cheaper to attract an existing client or a referral than get new business.
Right. That makes perfect sense. Okay. Where can people find you, my friend?
Man, they can find me at justinudi.com.
Yeah. And then Justin Udy and Team is your company, right?
Yeah. Justin Udy and Team Real Estate.
And then
here in Salt Lake City, Utah is where we're located.
What about your Insta? You have an Insta?
Instagram. We have our Justin Udy is my personal one. Justin Udy Team is the team one. So take a look. You're looking for. We have a couple openings, so there's some places. So if people are looking for a position, let us know. You will get top-notch, best training you can get, and a system that'll let you do sales at a high level. So,
all right, with that, thank you for watching another episode and listening to another episode of Clozer Cult Podcast.